Time for another Elsie's Little Pickles, the pickle pod for the people. Coming to you on, well, it's Friday, and it's the end of the trading day, one of the most horrific trading days in recent history. We're seeing the stock market just eat shit. And
we'll get to that.
We'll get to that. But if ever there was a time where a pickle protest was appropriate, it would be now. So if you've lost money in your 401k, find a MAGA house, put a pickle on the porch, take a picture, send it to elsieslittlepickles@gmail.com. Today, it's 2/3.
We want to hear from your pickle.
Yes, it's 2/3 of the pickle barrel today. It's me and Keifer. And let's just get right into it because the last few days have been just horrific. So let's get into it.
You could say it's been murder.
It's been murder. Let's go right into the news, buddy.
All right. First off, right here, I've got Trump fires National Security Council staffers after Laura Loomer raises loyalty concerns.
Because that's the most important thing. It's not whether or not they are capable and competent in their job. It's whether or not they're loyal to the Trump Meister. And he went and did that. He actually went and fired them off of her recommendation because they weren't loyal enough. And you're talking, the one guy was 30 years in the biz. These aren't high profile people. These aren't people with political ambitions. These are people who just do the job and do it well. But they're just not loyal enough for little Miss Laura Loomer.
Smart you are. It's a matter of how loyal to one person.
But remember when
you could say that he is now going to do a DEI hire of loyalty.
Well, that's exactly what it's becoming. It's becoming a DEI for loyalty. It doesn't matter. The rest of the shit doesn't seem to matter much at all. And I seem to remember when they started the whole Doge thing, him saying something with the firings and that. I seem to remember him saying something to the effect of, this is going to be, we're going to get back, we're going to get rid of the DEI and we're going to go back to, what was it? He called it competency or whatever, hiring. And that clearly doesn't apply to the firing. So it's going to be, we just don't think you're loyal enough to little Lord Fauntleroy, Mr. Trump. I don't even want to call him president anymore. I mean, he's just Trump.
That the term president requires an air of respect and
competency.
Yes, that's a great word to use. That's the word I was looking for.
He's not competent.
And he has neither.
No.
There was just a video posted actually where the internet is calling it a Biden moment, where he just kind of wandered around until someone guided him back to sign some paperwork.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, I think the thing that is the most disturbing about this is while the economy is literally crumbling, over $6 trillion in loss over the last, 2 or 3 days?
Yeah.
3 days.
I've got exact numbers.
He was what? Where was he today?
Well, today I don't know, but
Mar-a-Lago golfing.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I was going to say yesterday after announcing the new economy, he flew to Florida to watch golf.
Right.
Not play it, to watch it.
Well, no, and then today he played it. Well, he actually was, I don't know if he was watching golf yesterday. I know he was giving a speech to the Live Golf, which is the Saudi Arabia golf tournament or golf whatever. And instead of greeting the dead soldiers that were coming back, the 4 dead soldiers, what was that, Lithuania or whatever, the 4 come back, and any other president, had they chose to put their personal business in front of welcoming back these dead soldiers, it would have been a Republican feeding frenzy. Okay. So the economy, because of Trump, and this is all because of Trump. Let's make note. People need to start calling it what it is. This is a Trump fucking dump. I mean, he is
a Trump session.
Yeah, it's a Trump session. He's literally shit the American bed with this.
Yep.
And you're in just a couple of days, you're seeing these Republicans lose their mind. Even Ted Cruz, who is a sycophant among sycophants, is like, oh, we're going to get hammered in the midterms. We're going to be fucking destroyed. And you're starting to see, and they should be. Absolutely, they should be. Okay. You're starting to see the Republicans in Congress actually go, oh, wait, this is bad. It's going to affect my ability to get reelected. Now I can speak up. But not even all of them. I mean, that's the thing that's so fucking disgusting. It's so twisted. If you're sitting there as a Republican in Congress and you can't come forward when 25% of the economy, the stock market was wiped out in 3 days?
Yeah.
So a quarter of the fucking stock market gone. Okay. You're talking $1,600 on, what was it, Wednesday? Or no. Yeah.
Points.
Yeah. 1,600 points on Wednesday, 1,800 points on Thursday, and today, 2,200 points just on the Dow.
Let's get into that in a second.
Okay. Sorry, I get excited.
Reveal the numbers until we're ready.
I get excited on this.
I'll move into the last news story here that doesn't have Laura Loomer, conservative vampire. We have here the Senate rebukes Trump on Canada tariffs, with 4 Republicans joining the Democrats.
Yeah.
Basically, 51 senators, including 4 Republicans, voted on Wednesday to end Trump's tariff on Canadian goods in a bipartisan rebuke of the administration's trade policy.
Now, the sad part is it was only 4 Republicans that came
correct
over. And the reality of it is, from what I'm hearing, like behind closed doors, it's every Republican, not just in the Senate, but in the House too. Like, all these Republicans are going, holy shit, what have we done? We've literally allowed this asshole to tank the economy. Because
do you know which senators?
No, they're not. That's the thing, is it's all secondhand. It's,
I can tell you who.
Oh, can you?
Yeah. Republican Senators Rand Paul, Mitch McConnell, Susan Collins, and Lisa Murkowski.
Oh, no, I thought you meant behind closed doors who were talking shit about it.
Oh, no. Publicly, these 4 crossed.
Yes. And you know what? Good for them. But, little late to the fucking party, McConnell. You had the opportunity to impeach this cocksucker after January 6th, and you didn't do it. So, like, to every senator who was in office when January 6th happened, to every congressman who was in office when January 6th happened, you're getting now what you deserve. You're getting now the retribution that Trump has promised for everyone else that crossed him. Now you're getting it, because it's not going to end well for you, motherfuckers.
So you're ready for some numbers?
Yeah.
All right. Officially, Wednesday, the Dow dropped 1,679 points. On Thursday, it dropped just a hair under 1,800 points. And of course, today, it dropped 2,200 points for the 4th time in American history. Now,
I'm going to guess. I don't know this. I don't know if I'm right here, but I'm going to guess on those other 3 times. Okay. I'm going to guess it was Smoot-Hawley.
I'm not familiar with that. But...
Well, the Great Depression.
Oh, okay.
The Smoot-Hawley was the tariff bills that Congress passed. Okay. That set into effect the Great Depression, which the next election, they got wiped out. They got completely wiped out. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
The Republicans did. The next one, if I was to guess, would be Black Monday.
Yes.
Okay. And
no, actually.
Would it be the .com bubble?
I can't give you the exact times, but I can tell you that in 2008, specifically September 29th, 2008,
under a Republican, George W. Bush,
the Dow dropped 777 points, which at that time was the most in history in a single day.
And yet, not to be outdone, I'm not going to let George W. do a better job at destroying an economy than me.
That's right. And
he triples it. He triples it.
If you think back to 2008, we ended up in a recession.
Yes.
That Obama pulled us out of.
Correct. And it was referred to as the Great Recession because they didn't want to call it a depression. And that was with only what would you say it was?
777 points.
777 points. Just today, it was 2,200.
Correct.
So just today,
three times.
He did more than 3 times. And that doesn't include the previous 2 days, which if you combine it, means that he did 6 times the amount of damage than the highest amount of damage that had ever been done.
I mean,
let that sink in for a fucking minute.
Let's see. 1,800 plus 1,679 is what?
I couldn't fucking tell you because I suck at math. It doesn't matter. I'll tell you in a minute because I've got a calculator. What was it? 1,800 plus what?
Plus 1,679.
Okay, so 1,679 plus 1,800. That's
now
3,479.
Now add in 2,200.
Okay, that's 5,679. Let's divide that by 770. 7.38 times.
Correct.
The amount of damage. Let that fucking sink in. And
to put this into monetary value.
And this is just the Dow.
Yeah, this
doesn't include the S&P. This doesn't include the NASDAQ.
I have those numbers too.
We'll get to that in a moment.
Now, the Dow has lost yesterday $2 trillion. Today, it is 2.4 trillion, which means that Wednesday, it was probably like 2.2 trillion.
I've heard that just on the Dow, it is over $6 trillion.
Yeah.
And that's not
put it over. It would put it right at about 6.6 trillion.
Which
now,
well,
go ahead.
Fucking just take a moment and let that sink in. Okay. Yes. Again, we're talking 20
trillion.
Yeah, trillions of dollars. There was a period of time, and I think this goes back more towards maybe Reagan. Maybe Reagan.
You took Warren Buffett, Jeff Bezos, and Elon Musk and erased their fortunes out of their bank accounts. It wouldn't even be half.
This is what people need to wrap their heads around. This is a devastating blow to the economy, the likes of which I don't think we've ever seen.
No, we haven't. This is unprecedented. Yay, so much winning.
Okay, so now here comes the question.
Yes.
How long does it take for the Republicans as a party to go, this is enough? And what do they do? What will they do?
Yeah, that is going to be the ultimate question. I can tell you Nike lost $13 billion. Puma dropped 11%.
Apple lost
Adidas,
almost $1 trillion.
Yeah.
It was 800.
Apple lost basically $1 trillion. Adidas dropped by 3%. 401ks on average lost $10,000 across the board.
I have one particular stock that I'm heavily invested in. And since Trump was elected to today, it's lost $60 per share. Okay.
You know how much Tesla lost today? 5.4%.
That's got to hurt.
The NASDAQ today lost 5.8% or 902.
Look, at the end of the day, all those tech bros that were sitting behind him in the front row on inauguration, they all are getting fucked.
Yes.
So they've got to be wondering.
They're getting a prostate exam.
Yeah.
With a glove that has lube and gravel.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, we have to laugh because otherwise we'll cry. But my question, I got to go back to this. What, just spitballing, what do the Republicans do when they finally, as a group, go, we've got to step in. We've got to do something, because we're just, even if it's not for patriotic reasons, even if it's not because they're concerned about the amount of loss that Main Street people are suffering. Okay.
Well, I can tell you one thing. If you want some good news for red states, Kansas, Missouri, and Mississippi have just recently, apparently, as I've been reading online, are talking about dropping their age restriction on marriage from 15 to 14.
Well, good, because that will solve a lot of problems.
Absolutely. Can you imagine that? I'm not even going to say 14, but 15-year-old daughter. And I'm not talking about marrying another 15-year-old or an 18-year-old.
It could be a fucking 50-year-old.
It could be a 50-year-old, a 60-year-old. Yeah. A little pillow princess.
Oh, my God. I mean, what the fuck are they doing to this country? Honestly, what in the fuck?
Well, considering red states and their penchant for removing female rights, the right to bodily autonomy, in Texas, and it's being voiced around the country, the right to vote.
Oh, yeah.
The whole suffrage movement being erased.
Oh, look, you see that even with...
In Texas, they had bounties on women who were going to have an abortion. Bounties.
Just look at the dust up in the Republican Party between Marjorie Taylor Greene and Anna Paula Luna.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, what Anna Paula Luna is supporting and joining Democrats with is a pretty reasonable bill, which would allow anyone who is pregnant or going through a pregnancy or has just had a pregnancy or just gave birth, rather, to do a proxy vote. Mm-hmm. And Marjorie Taylor Greene's like, look, bitch, this is a privilege to work in Congress, to serve in Congress. If you can't show up, you can't do the job. Are you fucking kidding me? Now you got a woman telling another woman, basically explaining, we don't want you here. If you can't be here for a vote, then you can't be part of this club.
Correct.
So they're not just trying to squeeze women out of voting. They're trying to squeeze women out of politics.
Correct.
So in what world does this make any fucking logical sense? Look, any job, and she even told Luna, she told her in a tweet war that they were having, she's like, look, I had children and I didn't have a job as a congressperson, so I was able to make it work. And maybe you shouldn't be in Congress if you're going to get pregnant. Well, isn't that what we want? We want people younger, maybe of childbirthing age, to be in Congress, because they might actually understand the problems that the American people are having, because they're having those same problems too. I mean, where the fuck does this three-toed cunt come from where she can't even understand that a simple benefit should be, look, I gave birth 3 days ago. I can't make that vote. I can proxy vote it. Or I'm in my 9th month. I'm going to give birth any day. I can't make that vote, but I sure as hell can proxy it. I'm not allowed to fly because of my pregnancy being in the last trimester. So I can't. Come on, go fuck yourself, you three-toed cunt. What the fuck? It doesn't even make sense on a human level, much less a business level, which is what they keep saying the government should be run like a business. Well, maybe if you ran it like a business.
I say, all right, fine, run it like a business, but have that business ran by someone who actually knows business. not Donald Trump.
Oh my God! And like I said,
has bankrupted 2 casinos.
Yeah,
who does that? How do you do that?
Casinos,
I could have done it better.
Casinos,
I can have my dog run it better.
Yeah, it's a fucking ATM.
He doesn't know when he has to pee sometimes.
All right, so what do? Like
he eats his own asshole. He could run it better.
Hey, look, let's face facts. If you could do the same, you wouldn't even get off the couch.
It would make this video conference call even more interesting.
Yeah, and a lot more awkward for me. But let's say that they get to a point where, like, the majority of Republicans, because you're not going to get all of them, but the majority of congressional Republicans find themselves in a position where they're like, okay, this is, we have to do something about him. What do? Well, they could impeach him, which would be the smart thing to do. Okay. But then we're stuck with J.D. Vance, the lesser of 2 evils by far, but somebody who, in my opinion, is easily manipulated by people that he admires or find in power, or has an admiration or a sense of respect for, because they've been in Congress for X amount of years or whatever. And that doesn't even include business people. Okay. But at this point, I would definitely take a manipulated J.D. Vance over Trump, because this motherfucker's off the rails. And they're saying, they're trying to sell us a bill of goods of, yeah, this is just temporary pain. This is and maybe it is.
Vance came out and said that Trump is trying to lead the economy in a different direction. No shit.
Yeah, really? You think? I'm guessing off a fucking cliff. That's where he's trying to lead it.
I think it was the nighttime media host, Colbert.
Yeah.
Who said, he showed a graph of, the squiggly down arrow.
Yeah.
And was like, the only stock going up is downward red arrow.
Yeah, it's true. But see, let's say they finally decided, and I don't even know what the numbers are, but I would assume that they would they would have to have Democratic support to get to 3/4 majority in order to impeach him. And I don't think that would be very difficult to find that support, but I could see them doing an impeachment drawn up by the Republicans, and then the Republicans lose their fucking backbone, and it's all blame, and it doesn't happen, but it's all blamed on Democrats again. So let's say they did that. Let's say they impeached Trump. Let's say he's gone. J.D. Vance.
Do you think he would pretend to have a heart attack during that?
No, I don't know. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I think he'd fight it.
Army.
No, I think he'd fight it. Yeah. I think he would fucking fight it. But let's say they got to the point where they were asking the Democrats for help, right? Well, then the Democrats could say something like, well, look, you got to take the VP and impeach him too. But that then leaves us with Mike fucking Johnson. So like the only thing that I can see as a potential solve for this problem is you impeach Trump, maybe even prosecute him and try to jail him. Like, I could see the Democrats going, you wanted this. You had 2 opportunities to get rid of him before. You didn't take him when you should have. You're going to have to give us something more.
I say no to that. You know what they need to do? Deport him to El Salvador.
Oh, that would be wonderful. That would be wonderful to see him get his head shaved, stuck in the fucking same cells as the people that he shipped down there, including the people that didn't even do anything, and they know that the one guy they
that's
said
called justice.
The one guy they said, oh yeah, we fucked up. It was an administrative error. Sorry, but they're not bringing him back. They're not doing anything to fucking bring him back.
No.
I mean, what? How? It's one thing when you go.
They're talking about sending American citizens down to Guantanamo.
Oh, dude, that's been the plan all along.
Yeah.
To get rid of the protesters, to get rid of the people that Trump doesn't like. And that's why you see, like, he wants to create that wartime kind of fucking circumstance so he can call martial law, so he can do whatever the fuck he wants. And if they don't get in, if the Republicans don't get in front of it, look, one thing that people don't understand, Republicans lost the House and the Senate for like, what was it, 60 years or something like that?
I think so.
It was like 60 years after the Great Depression because of Smoot-Hawley. And this is making Smoot-Hawley look like fucking child's play. How long? And look,
so far this is so bad numbers wise that other people are saying there's nothing to see here.
Yeah,
everything's fine.
Everything's fine.
I know the building's on fire, but we have a cup of water.
Yeah, so you're starting to see. All right, so the reason why
I'm starting to feel like the Hollywood Hills when the blaze is happening.
Yeah, you can't do anything. You can't fucking do anything. All you can do is hop in your car, drive away as fast as you can, and watch it burn in your rear view. The reason why Colton isn't with us is because he's actually taking part in the hands-off protest. Have you heard about this?
Only from you.
Okay, so the hands-off protest is a protest that is apparently going on in over 1,000 cities tomorrow. So tomorrow's going to be a very, very interesting day to see how that all plays out. I hope it's all peaceful because I don't want to see anyone get arrested. I don't want to see anyone get in trouble. I don't want to see any of that shit. But he's going to be taking part in that protest, which I think is going to be a historic protest, not only because of what they were, the origins of the idea was, which is hands off our Medicare, hands off our Social Security, hands off our bodies, I mean, like the list of things that they want hands off is significant. Yeah.
By the way, breaking news: a judge has ordered that man back to the U.S.
Oh, good,
so
good.
We'll see what happens.
Well, yeah, but I mean, how fucking sickening is it that the administration admits that they made it?
Yeah, it should have gotten to this point.
It shouldn't even have to go to a judge. It should have been, oh fuck, we messed up. Let's get this guy back.
This guy was shipped, but we shouldn't have done it.
Oops.
We'll send him a taco.
Yeah, I mean, so what I'm hoping for is a very, very dramatic and large showing at all of these hands-off protests. I want it to be peaceful, obviously, because I don't believe in any political violence whatsoever. But the organizers of the protests have made it very clear. If somebody is there that has a different ideology or is getting in your face, just back away. Let them have let them speak their mind. Don't get physical. Don't bring any weapons, even if they're legal. Just fucking no violence, which is part of the reason why I'm very, very enthusiastic about this. I think this is going to be a monumental one, and I think it's going to be monumental because it wouldn't have been as big. I mean, it was already huge, but I don't think it would be as big if it weren't for the tariff issue and the stock market taking a shit and 25% of wealth just being erased. That gets people to sit up and go, oh, no, I'm going to go and be part of this protest. So hopefully we get to that point. I don't know, man. Like I said, I've been watching the markets. I've been watching the news, trying to find anyone that could give me some sort of real optimism. Do I think it'll come back? Yeah, I think eventually it'll come back. Do I think that he's going to budge on these tariffs? No, I don't. And I'll tell you why I don't. He doesn't want to give the media a win. So even with that Signalgate issue, he could have fired Walz. He could have fired Hegseth. The reason he didn't.
His response today on an airplane, on Air Force One, when questioned by a reporter about it, he told the reporter not to bring that up again, that it's a waste of time.
Yeah, because he doesn't want to give the media a win. I mean, he's been quoted as saying, I'm not giving the media a win. Secondhand quote, but still reliable sources that are saying he just doesn't want to give the media the win. It doesn't matter. And he's pissed off all to hell with Walz on this and not too thrilled with Hegseth. But their jobs are going to be safe. Meanwhile, he's firing, these people that are, national security fucking people just because they didn't pass the loyalty test.
Correct.
And on top of all of that, not being there to receive the bodies of the fallen soldiers and the reason being because he was going to go and bolster his business with Live Golf, and because the Saudi Arabians gave his son-in-law, Jared Kushner, $2 billion to start his shit up, and because it's me, and I need to golf. Meanwhile, he lit the fire and just walked away. What kind of leadership is that?
It's not.
I mean, like, even if you're a Trump supporter, how can you look at that? Every time he goes to play golf, it costs the American taxpayers almost $10 million.
Mm-hmm.
Or whatever it is. It's like 8.7 or some shit like that because of security, because of flight, and because all this stuff. And he does this every fucking weekend. So by the time he's done in office, how much money will he have spent just going golfing?
Where's Doge on that?
Yeah, where is Doge on that? Where's Elon?
Yep.
I mean, I think this is, look, if this, yeah, he's resetting. Exactly. If this continues for any length of time and actually does any type of permanent damage, I think that if Congress doesn't step up, I think the American people will. And I think they'll not only do it with their wallets, but I think they'll do it with protests. And I think that at some point it will get ugly.
Can you imagine if Trump was impeached and Vance became the president? Do you think it would be better or worse?
I'm not sure. It would depend on whether or not he was going to be a puppet or whether he was going to continue the Trump plans in order to appease the MAGA base, or whether or not he was going to stand up and be a man and make decisions that he thinks are actually, look, I can disagree with a decision that you make, but I can respect it if you're doing it because you really do believe that this is a thought out choice and this is the best way to go.
I think Vance would cave on the tariffs immediately.
I think he would too, because historically he hasn't supported that idea.
Correct.
So you've seen this embarrassing.
It'd be very entertaining.
Yeah, I think first and foremost, it wouldn't matter who got put in that position. If you could pick any motherfucker in politics and put him in that position, and even the biggest Trump fan would go, no, we're getting rid of these fucking tariffs, and we're sorry for the inconvenience and how much money everyone lost. What can we do to make it up to you? I don't think you would have any choice but to do that as a replacement for Trump at this point. So, I don't know, man. I don't know.
All I can say, people, is watch your wallet. Be careful.
Yeah.
What's entertaining to me is in the couple of Facebook groups that I'm in, the last 2 weeks, the MAGA supporters have gone silent.
Have they?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Completely radio silence. Almost as if they're afraid to say something.
And you say this is the last 2 weeks or just the last week?
In the last 2 weeks. Specifically this week.
I was going to say, I understand this week, but
they have gone radio silent.
What do you think it is?
In a few posts in one of the groups, a couple of outspoken people have tagged those individuals. No response.
But I'm curious, why do you think the last 2 weeks? I understand this week, but the week before, why do you think? Do you think it was because of the lead up to this tariff thing, and they were like,
probably started with the whole signal gate thing. Like,
oh yeah, that would make sense. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Because
for as much crap that people slung at Biden, nothing like that ever happened.
Right. Well, it's interesting because the social media that I've been seeing, like on X, I mean, they had basically "We miss you, Biden" kind of thing going, or "Do you miss me yet?" And it just showed Biden like standing there when the dead soldiers came off the plane. He was there. It showed him, like a bunch of different things where it was like, yeah, okay, he was a doddering old fool and old man, but when he was.
You know who's in charge right now of the NSA? Nobody knows because they were fired and no replacement has been.
Well, there you go. So no national security. All right. Cool.
Beautiful.
I mean, I guess at this point, Russia and China could just come on in and take over.
Yeah.
So good. All right. Good news. All right. I don't know, man. Like I said, I want to have a positive outlook. I want the country to be good. Even if I dislike Trump, I want him to be successful. You know what I mean? Not because I want to hear all of the fucking MAGA fucking bitches. Oh, told you so. No, I just don't want the fucking country to be in a bad place. You know what I mean? So even though I don't like him and I disagree with everything, just about
everything,
I still want him to succeed because it's in
the country
everyone's
to thrive. And right now, it literally is getting dark and kind of hot in here.
Yeah.
Why are the walls made of wicker, and why is it getting really uncomfortable?
Exactly. Look, I'm just to the point where this week has devastated me in many, many ways. It's been incredibly depressing for the country. It's been incredibly depressing financially, personally, for both of us. We've watched a lot of our investments just eat shit. I don't know that I can do a full political podcast right now. So let's do this. Let's do this. You have a wide range of fascinations. Many are peculiar and unusual. Why don't you...
As with most of my life, it's
peculiar and unusual. So why don't you tell me what you've kind of been exploring and looking at, and it can be anything except politics.
Okay. Well, I've been recently fascinated with a story.
Okay.
A story.
Like a recent true story, or is this a while back, or?
No, this is just after I was born.
Oh, okay. So we're talking 76, 77. All right. So 77. Yeah. And this is the story that you've just been fascinated with within the last few weeks or so.
Actually, I've been fascinated with the story for a couple of years now.
Oh, really? Okay. All right, cool.
It really brings up some questions, some ideas.
Okay.
If you're expecting a happy story, have I got news for you?
Oh, shit. Okay. All right. Well, fucking hit me.
This takes place June 13th, 1977 in a camp.
Okay.
Where the Girl Scouts.
Oh, okay. Girl Scouts camp. Okay. Well, I mean, how bad can this be?
And the Girl Scouts convened into this camp for the start of it was a summertime.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was supposed to be 3 weeks. I'm not entirely sure the length of time.
Okay.
But large Camp Scott in Mays County, Oklahoma. Technically, the city is Locust Grove, Oklahoma.
Okay.
Tell me that doesn't sound like a weird fucking name.
Yeah.
Locust Grove.
Well,
let's go.
Hey, look, it's no worse than Stinking Creek, Tennessee.
Not to be outdone with, what is the city in Texas? White Settlement.
Oh, okay.
Literally, that's the name of the town.
All
White
right.
Settlement.
All right.
But it took place the morning of June 13th, 1977 at Camp Scott in Oklahoma, where that morning a camp counselor decided to wake up early, start walking towards the camp showers to get ready, get the girls up later after the start of her day. When she happened to spot by a tree off the trail to the showers a sleeping bag.
That can't.
Now you'll never guess what's inside of that sleeping bag.
I'm hoping it's not someone sleeping.
They, in fact, were not sleeping.
Oh, boy.
They had been bludgeoned and strangled and raped.
Oh, boy.
Yes.
Well, you're not doing anything for my mood, but continue. I'm fascinated. Fuck.
As it turns out, she peeked inside of the bag, which the girl was crumbled up into the bottom of it, like she was a sandwich sack. And then another sleeping bag was spotted about 100 feet away.
Oh, my God.
And then just a body next to that sleeping bag.
Oh, Christ.
And in that other sleeping bag was still yet another body. So in all, 3 Girl Scouts. Between, technically, I'm going to say Lori Lee Farmer, age 8, Michelle Heather Goose, age 9, and Doris Denise Milner, age 10, were all bludgeoned, strangled, and raped.
All right, I got a question.
And yes.
Do we know where Trump was at that time?
Probably on a golf course.
That makes sense. That's on brand. Okay.
Or, actually, 77, he might have been in court over not renting to black people.
Oh, well, there's that. Okay.
Because that did happen.
Yeah.
But anyway, as it turns out, just earlier that month, while prepping for camp, a camp counselor discovered that her belongings in her tent had been ransacked and her donuts had been stolen. Not my donuts.
Not my donuts.
But inside of the empty donut container was a handwritten note in capital letters that said, "We are on a mission to kill 3 girls in 1 tent."
Fuck.
And lo and behold, that's exactly what happened.
Jesus.
There were bloody footprints, boot prints, I should say. Technically, where it has it, there was 2 different size boots imprinted on the wood in the tent. But they had been brutally raped, bludgeoned, and strangled to death. Good times.
Good times. Great oldies. Good fucking Lord.
Now, the camp itself closed forever.
Oh, yeah, you think?
The camp had been operating since the 1920s, I do believe.
Yeah, but after that, that's the kind of negative press that you don't recover from.
No.
Good God.
I've watched some interviews of the parents, and one of them, the mother is no longer living. She died somewhere in the 20-teens, but she never forgave herself because her daughter did not want to go.
Oh.
She felt like she wouldn't make friends, wouldn't have fun, but her mother convinced her to go.
See that, and unfortunately for her, she feels that way.
Literally, if you feel like you are not having fun, write me and I will come pick you up. And in that letter that was written the night before, she was asking her mother to come pick her up.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah. Yeah. How horrible that lady must have been.
Yeah, and the thing is,
my heart goes out.
Yeah, my heart goes out to her too. The thing is that as a parent, you try to get especially if your child is a little bit reserved or a little bit shy, you try to kind of push them out of the nest a little bit so they can experience life, because you don't want them to grow up to be a shut-in or whatever. As a parent myself, I can tell you there have been plenty of times where my son Colton didn't want to go to something. I'm like, no, go, you'll have fun, try it, and if you don't like it, call me and I'll come pick you up or whatever. And so that's the instinct of a parent, is to try to push them to go and experience different things and try to push them to, do something that maybe they don't feel necessarily comfortable with, because a lot of times they find out that they did have fun, or they found something new that they enjoyed, like at camp like that.
They got to step out of that comfort zone.
Yeah. So like at a camp like that, I would imagine that maybe archery was something that she'd never had the opportunity to experience. And she might have, if nothing else, came away going, I love archery, and found a new hobby for the rest of her life, or, a craft or an art, or just being out in the, in the outdoors. Maybe, she discovered, oh my gosh, I really love going on long hikes, you know what I mean? Only to find out this news. Yeah, I mean, that would be devastating to any parent, and any parent, I think, would carry that, not that
and
you could ever even perceive that might be the outcome. You know what I mean? Like a Girl Scout camp, the last thing you would think of is, oh my God, my daughter's going to get murdered and raped and beaten.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck.
And even as, maybe not equally as terrible, but definitely, there's no way to quantify a tragedy. But I also watched an interview with the camp counselor who discovered it. She was only 17 at the time.
Oh, that devastates you for life.
Yeah, for life.
Yeah,
absolutely. She had said she was still in therapy.
Oh, I don't doubt that at all.
Years.
Yeah, I mean, you don't discover.
You don't come back from
it. Look, one little dead girl would be difficult to deal with, but 3?
Correct.
And especially before you had a shower and coffee, like you're just waking up. And I'm not making light of that. I mean that. Like you're just really kind of coming to consciousness. You're just kind of getting the sleep out of your eyes, and that's what you come across. Yeah, that would not only be devastating, but almost surreal. You know, like I would imagine at some point she had to question whether or not she was seeing what she was seeing, you know, and how do you deal with that? And how do you even, like, what do you do? You know, who do you report to? You know, like all the thoughts that would race through your mind as far as like, how do I handle this at 17? You know, at 17, I got carjacked and my buddy got shot and I had the guy that shot him put the gun right between my eyes and I still deal with, you know, nightmares about that circumstance. And fortunately no one died, you know. So like I can't even imagine being 17 and coming across 3 dead little Girl Scouts who were put into your care. You know, I mean, that's the other part of it. They were put into, whether it was her particular cabin of girls or whatever, however they had it, you know, tents.
There was like 7 or 8 tents, and their tent was the furthest away.
God.
In fact, there was no line of sight between their camp counselor's tent and their tent because the shower was in between. So,
all right.
A red flashlight was found on top of the girls' bodies with a smudged fingerprint.
Okay.
Which was never identified.
Well, that I thought you were going somewhere good with this, and that just turned to shit. Thank you.
And of course, DNA testing was not really a thing back in 1977.
No, I mean they had some form of it, I think, but it was not anywhere near what it is.
Yeah, nothing close.
Right.
But they did a DNA test in 1989.
Okay.
Which officially was inconclusive.
Oh, well, you got my hopes up and then just shot me down. Thank you.
It identified a member of the Cherokee Nation as a suspect, but did not narrow down the pool of possibilities of suspects enough, showing that it applied to 1 in 7,700 Native Americans.
Okay, so we know roughly, but not narrow. We can't even narrow it down to like a top 10.
Now, DNA testing was again performed in 2017.
Well, this sounds a lot more hopeful.
And it strongly suggests that the original suspect, Gene Leroy Hart, it suggests that he was involved in the crime.
Okay.
Though it officially remains unsolved.
Okay.
Now, what caught my eye about this is Gene Leroy Hart did go to court over this, and he was found not guilty.
Well, fuck me.
He did go to jail for other incidents. What exactly, I don't remember offhand, but it had something to do with a life sentence. So obviously something terrible, but he dropped dead of a heart attack while working out in the yard. What caught my eye about this is that while they were doing the manhunt for Gene Hart, he was spotted entering the house on land owned by a Cherokee medicine man.
Okay.
And when they closed in on the house to arrest him, he was not there.
Really?
Correct.
Was he at 7-Eleven?
Well, it turns out the medicine man told them that they would have a hard time capturing Hart because he was a skinwalker.
Get the fuck out.
That's what caught my eye. For a while, they could not catch this guy.
All right, so
the wind.
Just for those who might be listening that aren't familiar with what a skinwalker is, could you explain that?
A skinwalker is reportedly an individual who can change into animals.
So basically a shapeshifter.
Correct.
Right.
But he eventually was captured, put on trial. The verdict was not guilty because they didn't have sufficient evidence, but he did go to prison for other things.
Well, at least he ended up in prison and died in prison.
but it just is a fascinating case. It's obviously heartbreaking. No real closure for those families.
No.
But it just always captures my attention. I like to read stuff like that. I'm fascinated by unsolved mysteries.
Well, maybe this is something
he actually was convicted, now I'm reading, of kidnapping and raping 2 pregnant women, as well as 4 counts of first-degree burglary.
Oh, God.
He died of a heart attack at the age of 35.
Really?
About an hour of lifting weights and jogging in the
at
prison.
35, though?
At 35.
That's, fuck, you don't hear that often. Not a heart attack at 35. I mean, did they say like he had a heart history or like any like history medically or?
No. In 2024, 2 of the families sued the Magic Empire Council, which is the insurer, I guess, for the Girl Scouts, and they won. We're talking almost 30 years later, and it was just $5 million. But no amount of money is going to replace it.
Well, that's the thing. Like, I mean, like, no matter what that sum would have been, it doesn't take away the pain.
And Hart died of the heart attack 2 years later, almost to the day.
That's actually
June 4th.
Although it's a depressing story, it's a fascinating story, and maybe we'll do something like this on the regular where we talk about just what each other, because it's fascinating to me. Like, what people don't know is we went a very long time just because of circumstance where we didn't talk much. So a lot of what this is us trying to get caught back up and spend time and with each other and learn again kind of each other's interests. So maybe we'll do that. You know what I mean? Like do a every once in a while we'll do what are you into now? And while that was not by any stretch of the imagination the uplifting story that I had hoped for after discussing the political bullshit and the stock market crash, it is fascinating.
You know what confuses me about also on this case and things like this is that Gene Hart died in 1979 at the age of 35, but he still had 305 years left of his 308-year sentence. Now, my problem with that is why bother sentencing someone for 308 years?
I think that
just say until you die. You will be here until you die.
I think that has more to do with the way the sentences are laid out, because there are sentences that are consecutive, and then like the way that they structured those the sentencing might have been part of the reasoning for that. And ultimately, it's, I think, a play so that under no circumstance can this asshole get paroled. That would be my guess, But like I said, not exactly the uplifting story I was hoping for.
Well, you're quite welcome.
Well, I appreciate that. But fascinating nonetheless.
I am such an asshole sometimes that I think of horrible things. And just to end on a really bad meaning joke.
Okay.
I kind of wonder if maybe that camp counselor lost a badge.
And with that, that's another Elsie's Little Pickles.